Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited because we are going to be talking about my pregnancy journey with baby number 2. I am currently 13 weeks along. I do plan on doing a first trimester kind of like bump date / update with like symptoms and how it was different from my first pregnancy, so stay tuned for that. So in today's video, I just want to share with you just our journey getting to this point to becoming pregnant and what that looked like while breastfeeding. I do have a 15-month-old daughter named Finley, and I was breastfeeding when I got pregnant. So I know when we decided that we were going to try to conceive baby number 2 that it was going to be a little bit of a challenge because we were breastfeeding. That's just what all the other videos I watched and all the articles and doctors, everyone said that you don't know when you're going to ovulate, you may not know you're ovulating, so don't expect it to happen right away. So I wanted to just go through my entire journey from when we decided to start to when we got pregnant. So I do have some handy dandy notes I'm going to be referring to throughout this video. I didn't want to get any dates or anything wrong. So the first thing that we should probably talk about is your period. So after you have a baby, it's very hit or miss when you get your period, your first period after. I got my first period in January of this year, so I was 9 months postpartum. So once I started my period, we started having that discussion of, okay, so do we want to start trying to conceive baby number 2 right away? Do we want to wait a little while? And ultimately we decided we were going to wait until Finley was a year old and then start trying. That was going to give my body just a little bit of time to like have a period again. Fast forward to February, we actually went on a cruise to the Bahamas. This was all pre-COVID, and I was ovulating the week we were there, and I thought, hey, wouldn't that be cool if we had a Bahamas baby? Unfortunately, we both kind of decided that we didn't want to get like scooped up in the moment and just try and conceive a baby just because you're on vacation. So we decided that we would just wait and try again next month. So fast forward to March of 2020. This is when quarantine really started, and we were up at my parents' house in Oklahoma, and it was actually my birthday the week I was ovulating. Perfect time to start trying for a baby. So we tried, and then fast forward 2 weeks and I tested negative. We were not pregnant. I was super bummed, partly because I thought that I had messed up, like when I was ovulating, like my periods maybe weren't regulated yet, which is completely normal, and I should have expected it. With Finley, we got pregnant on the first try, so I just assumed, hey, that's what's gonna happen this time, and that just wasn't the case. So we decided, you know what, this is just like a blessing in disguise, because the next month that I was ovulating was actually going to be Finley's birthday week. And that was originally when we decided we were gonna try and have a baby anyways. And yeah, fast forward to April, we tried to conceive. 2 weeks later, I tested negative. So I was super, super bummed. And my husband was determined that I was pregnant because my period was late. I think I was late up to 5 days, 4 or 5 days late, and I was still testing negative. So I was like, what in the world is going on? I haven't started my period, but I'm not testing positive. So we were just kind of in this like limbo waiting game to see, you know, what way it was gonna go. So here's when it gets interesting. So in the middle of May, when all of this is going on, I ended up having to go to the emergency room. Long story short, I had to go in because I had a pinched nerve in my vertebrae, and there was like a bunch of inflammation around the vertebrae. It was just, I couldn't even move. I was in so much pain. So they sent me to the ER, and while you're in the ER, if you're not familiar, they have to test you, like do a bunch of blood work when you get there to see if you're pregnant, because a lot of medicine and tests they do aren't safe for someone that's pregnant. So in my mind, I'm not even expecting anything from that, and they come in and they're like, okay, well, you are pregnant. And this is happening all during COVID. So my husband's not with me. He's, you know, taking care of my daughter. So I'm in the emergency alone, as it is. It's scary. And then I find out that we're pregnant, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like such an incredible, exciting moment. Like this is, you know, what we were trying for. But then the doctors said, well, don't get too excited. you might have an ectopic pregnancy, which is what may be causing a lot of your pain. This was way before they had found out. This was right when I got there. This was way before they had found out like what my actual diagnosis was. So my heart instantly sank. Nobody wants to hear that, especially when you've been trying to have a baby and then they drop something like that on you. So of course my husband's texting me, asking for updates, what's going on, and then he asks, so are you pregnant? Because he knows that they test for that when you get into the ER. And of course I had to tell him because I didn't know how long I was going to be in the ER, and I didn't want to keep something like that from him, especially with the diagnosis of possibly having an ectopic pregnancy. So I had to tell him over text message. So it was kind of cute. I can try and insert a screenshot of it up on this screen. He didn't believe me at all at first, and then he was like, wait, for real? So it wasn't exactly how I wanted to share the news, but I mean, either way, like I got to share the news with him, and he was super, super excited. I ended up spending 9 hours in the emergency room doing all these tests. So I spent that whole time thinking that something was wrong with this baby. I was super early, so they couldn't see anything on an ultrasound yet, so they didn't know if there was like a heartbeat or anything like that to just kind of like rule out anything. So 9 hours passed. They told me that the baby was fine, that they're more than likely it wasn't, you know, anything scary going on with that or the pregnancy, and that it had in fact been the pinched nerve in my vertebrae. So after we left the emergency room with some amazing news, we're having a baby, we had to go ahead and set up an initial appointment with our OB. If anyone's familiar with how they track how far along you are, it's based off your last period. So based off my last period, I should have ovulated at this time and had missed my period at this time. Well, come to find out, I was actually measuring 13 days later than they had expected. So instead of being due January 15th, I was due, which is my current due date, is January 28th. So I was just, my mind was blown that that drastic of dates happened, and little did I know it was because I was breastfeeding during that time. So apparently you can ovulate at any time. In my case, I just ovulated a little bit later than I had initially thought. So it is possible to get pregnant while you're breastfeeding. So that is my pregnancy story / journey trying to conceive while breastfeeding. And I hope that was helpful. I hope this was informative in some way. Like I said, we are super, super excited to be welcoming another little baby into this world. So if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Go ahead and hit subscribe and hit that little bell so you get notified every time I upload. Thanks so much for watching.